Hi, good day. I'm Sandeep, and you're watching the Indian Weekender. Today is 3rd of February, and Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has made another announcement, or shall I say, the government has taken another shot at border reopening. Well, the announcement of border reopening was much awaited, and the government was under a lot of pressure and criticism from media and from New Zealanders who were stuck overseas. So we expect that there would be a lot of hope, a lot of relief following this announcement. But along with that announcement, along with that hope that we are seeing, there is definitely a lot of confusion. We have already received a lot of phone calls and emails from different segments of our ethnic migrant communities. That includes our residents, that includes our temporary migrants who are stuck here in New Zealand and has not been able to travel overseas. And also, most importantly, one of the most important segment of our temporary migrants who are stuck overseas. So following that announcement, following those queries and understanding the level of confusion that emanates from the Prime Minister's announcement and the press release itself, we are taking upon itself to just try to declutter the situation, what exactly this today's announcement means. So आज के अनाउंसमेंट में हमें कई लेवल पे कंफ्यूजन दिखता है. सबसे बड़ा कंफ्यूजन जो स्टार्ट होता है वो it is rooted right in the press release that was bombasted from the Prime Minister's office and the government's different officers this morning, announcing about Prime Minister's decision to announce this border reopening. So the first thing, जो सबसे बड़ा confusion है, जो government के announcement में एक और unintended consequences है, वो है that government is saying that border will reopen to vaccinated New Zealanders from Australia on a given date. So the first thing, the confusion that is embedded in this decision is that technically border was never closed for New Zealanders who are stuck overseas. Government is mixing two different issues, which a lot of people, they are aware, but unnecessarily government is driving this confusion. That border closure is one issue and non-availability of space in MIQs and other issues. और government की आज की इस announcement में once again it has shown the naivety or maybe the trickiness with which they are trying to merge these two issues and causing confusion among people who are at the other end who are at the receiving end of the problems from the government's decision. So सबसे पहले हमें ये अंडरस्टैंड करना है कि यहाँ पर ये दो अलग अलग मुद्दे हैं, बॉर्डर रीओपनिंग एंड MIQ रिमूवल. प्राइमरीली आज के अनाउंसमेंट में गवर्नमेंट ने दोनों इश्यूज को एड्रेस किया है थोड़ा थोड़ा, लेकिन ये हमारे लिए जानना बहुत जरूरी है कि बॉर्डर रीओपनिंग किसको अफेक्ट करता है और MIQ में स्पेस अवेलेबिलिटी का इशू किसको अफेक्ट करता है. MIQ में जो स्पेस नहीं है, हम सब जानते हैं पिछले साल डेढ़ साल से जो दिक्कतें आ रही हैं. People they have been who are eligible to come into the country by being a citizen or by being a resident, even they have been struggling to find a space in MIQ. So recent time में जो गवर्नमेंट के ऊपर जो प्रेशर माउंट हो रहा था, इंक्लूडिंग जो हमने एक प्रेग्नेंट की हुई जर्नलिस्ट की स्टोरी जो शार्लोट बेलिस की जो काफ़ी जिसने ग्लोबल अटेंशन सीख किया था, वो भी जो प्रेशर था वो गवर्नमेंट के ऊपर प्रेशर था टू रिमूव MIQ स्पेस फॉर न्यूजीलैंडर्स स्टक ओवरसीज. And essentially what government has done today is responded to that pressure. We all know that government has previously announced a full plan to reopen borders, which was never materialized with the arrival of Omicron in our communities. So government has to delay that plan. So today government has come back and taken another shot in removing the human misery of MIQs. तो ये सबसे पहले हमारे जो टेम्पररी माइग्रेंट्स हैं, जो माइग्रेंट्स हैं, उनको ये समझना बहुत ज़रूरी है कि how today's decision is going to affect them. If you are a resident, if you are a citizen who have been either stuck overseas and waiting to find a place in MIQ for months, or if you have been living on shore and you have been planning to travel overseas to meet your different life events, meet your family and friends, and for any other personal reason, for you, this is all about MIQ removal. तो जैसा कि हमने सुना, हम जानते हैं कि आज की अनाउंसमेंट में गवर्नमेंट ने 5 डिफरेंट स्टेप्स में बॉर्डर ओपन या फिर MIQ रिमूवल के बारे में बात की है. तो हमारे लिए, आपके लिए जानना बहुत ज़रूरी है कि पहले हम उन 5 डेट्स को मोटा मोटा समझ लें. सबसे पहले जो गवर्नमेंट ने डेट अनाउंस की है वो 27 फरवरी की है, जो कि 2 हफ्ते में या 3 हफ्ते में आने वाला है. उसके बाद जो नेक्स्ट डेट है, दैट इज 13th of March. That is the second stage, when the second stage will be allowed. उसके बाद जो third stage है, that is of 12th of April. इसके बाद जो 2 stages हैं, उसमें गवर्नमेंट ने कोई specific date नहीं दी है. That is July, the month of July and month of October. Prime Minister Ardern is quite confident that those last 2 stages, particularly of the July one, would be able to brought forward, provided government is able to be on top of the Omicron outbreak. But again, that is again fluid. We all know that the way government has been managing COVID, the government has been trying to take decisions as it goes because Omicron has been evolving, the pandemic has been evolving. So nothing is written on the firm stone yet. Things will keep on evolving. But right now, अभी हमारे लिए तीन डेट्स तो हमारे सामने हैं ही. 27 फरवरी, 13 मार्च, 12 अप्रैल. ये 3 डिफरेंट स्टेजेस हैं. तो वैसे तो अब इसमें कुछ भी नया नहीं है. आप सबको अभी तक मालूम चल चुका होगा कि अगर आप सिटीजन हैं, अगर आप न्यूजीलैंड सिटीजन हैं, even if you are any Kiwi Indian or ethnic migrant who is a New Zealand citizen, would be allowed to come back and enter New Zealand without having to go into MIQ from 27th of February. So आपके ऊपर जो MIQ का restrictions है वो हटा दिया जाएगा and you will be required to go for direct 10 days of self-isolation at your home. And this will continue. And after that, this also includes other eligible travelers, which means Australian citizens and Australian permanent residents whose primary place of residence is in New Zealand. तो बहुत सारे हमारे एथनिक माइग्रेंट कम्युनिटीज़ हैं जो शायद माइग्रेट कर गए ऑस्ट्रेलिया में और उनके पास अब वो ऑस्ट्रेलियन सिटीजन्स हैं, they are residents in Australian and they also continue to live and work here in New Zealand. So now they will also be allowed to come back. So that will be happening on 27th of February. So that is the first thing that will be affecting you all. The next date is the second stage, which is on 13th of March. जैसा कि हम जानते हैं, इसके बाद न्यूजीलैंडर्स फ्रॉम ऑल अराउंड द वर्ल्ड विल बी अलाउड टू कम बैक ऑन दैट डेट. सो अगर आप एक न्यूजीलैंड सिटीजन हैं और ना सिर्फ ऑस्ट्रेलिया में बल्कि विश्व में कहीं भी रह रहे थे, इंक्लूडिंग इन इंडिया, so that is an important thing. A lot of our ethnic migrant Kiwi Indian community members who have been planning to travel back to India and have the ability to come back without any MIQ, because MIQ has been such a pain that you have to wait for months and months to find a place, which has been quite miserable for a lot of people. So for you, the relief will begin from the date 13th of March. तो 13th of March के बाद अगर आप वापस न्यूजीलैंड में आने का प्लान कर रहे हैं, then you will have that freedom to be able to come back and not have to go to MIQ and straight away go at your home and self-isolate for 10 odd days. 2 चीज़ यहाँ बताना बहुत ज़रूरी है. इस डिसीजन में जो ओवरऑल इस डिसीजन का जो implication है, गवर्नमेंट इज सेइंग दैट प्रोग्रेसिवली दे विल बी स्केलिंग डाउन MIQ फैसिलिटीज. जैसा कि आप सबको मालूम है कि न्यूजीलैंड में बहुत बड़े बड़े 5-star होटल से लेकर छोटे छोटे होटल्स इनको कन्वर्ट किया गया था MIQ फैसिलिटीज में, so that the people who are coming from overseas they can be managed in isolation, quarantined over there, or even people who were infected with COVID-19, they could be taken there for quarantine. So government is envisaging that progressively they will reduce the capacity of MIQ facilities. So what it means that many big hotels can progressively be released from MIQ facilities and return back to their normal business, day-to-day business. What it means that to be able to do business in commercial environment and allow more tourists to come back and use those facilities. But importantly for everyone, that it doesn't mean that MIQ will be removed altogether from New Zealand. MIQs are going to stay for n number of reasons. Most importantly, for letting unvaccinated New Zealanders or others, when they choose to come to New Zealand, to go through that MIQ process. MIQ system. So that is an important thing that comes out from today's announcement, that MIQs are going to remain. They're going to exist. They are not being abolished permanently, although progressively over a period of time, which is probably 6 odd months, like right up till October, they will be scaled down in size. इसके बाद जो सबसे बड़ा जो अनाउंसमेंट है या जो कंफ्यूजन है, जो हमारे बहुत सारे एथनिक माइग्रेंट कम्युनिटीज को अफेक्ट करता है, वो गवर्नमेंट का अनाउंसमेंट है ओवर द इशू ऑफ टेम्परेरी वर्क वीजा होल्डर्स. हाउ गवर्नमेंट वांट, और आई वुड से दैट how or in what stage manner government would be allowing temporary work visa holders to return back. So for this important segment of our ethnic migrant community, which is in big numbers, we already know that there are probably 200,000 temporary migrants living on shore, and there are tens of thousands of temporary migrants who are stuck overseas. So this is the most important part, where government's announcement is causing more confusion than actually bringing more clarity. सबसे पहले हम ये जान लें कि आज की डेट में न्यूजीलैंड के पर्सपेक्टिव में कितने कैटेगरी के टेम्परेरी माइग्रेंट्स हो सकते हैं या हैं ब्रॉडली. सो our understanding is, which is not an immigration advice, but it is just a broad understanding, that there is largely 3 categories of temporary migrants associated with New Zealand. A, as I have said already, temporary migrant workers who already have got their visas and they are living on shore. From what government is estimating, we all know that we would have somewhere around 250,000 to 300,000 temporary migrants who have got visas and they are living in New Zealand on shore. जैसा कि आप सब जानते हैं कि पिछले मार्च 2020 से ये जो हमारी कैटेगरी ऑफ सेगमेंट ऑफ टेम्परेरी माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स है, दे हैव आल्सो बीन काइंड ऑफ लॉक्ड इनसाइड द कंट्री. They didn't have the freedom or the ability to travel overseas to attend important life events, maybe like marriages, or attend funerals, or send off families, or do other family meetings. So they didn't have the ability to come back and return back. तो यहाँ पे जो मुद्दा आता है, वो जो हमारे लोगों को एड्रेस करता है, वो है बॉर्डर क्लोजर का. So I will take your attention back to the very early stages that I raised the issue that government is causing confusion in 2 different issues by mixing it together. One is border opening or reopening, and another is MIQ availability. तो जो हमारा ये वाला जो टेम्परेरी माइग्रेंट कैटेगरी है, जो ऑन शोर रहता है, ऑन शोर में है अभी न्यूजीलैंड में, they have either applied for their residencies, or they are studying, or they are on different visas. They didn't have the ability to come back and enter New Zealand because borders are closed as of now for all non-New Zealand citizens and residents. So under a directive of public health, government has closed borders. So despite all these people living in New Zealand, they didn't have the ability to come back and open and re-enter, even if they could possibly get a place in MIQ. So आज जो अनाउंसमेंट आई है, उस अनाउंसमेंट में जो गवर्नमेंट कह रही है, उसमें इस कैटेगरी के लोगों के लिए वो कह रही है कि दे विल बी, उन्होंने स्पेसिफिकली कहीं नहीं कहा है कि when they will have the ability to travel overseas and come back, and I will explain you how and where this information is available. गवर्नमेंट ने आज जो अनाउंसमेंट किया है, उसमें वो कह रहे हैं कि हम टेम्परेरी माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स को बुलाएंगे कंट्री में, यहाँ पे जो स्किल्ड वर्कर शॉर्टेज है, यहाँ की इकोनॉमी को बूस्ट करने के लिए, स्किल्ड वर्कर शॉर्टेज को एड्रेस करने के लिए, और साथ में उन्होंने एक अपेंडेज ये भी लगाया है कि those temporary migrant workers who were stuck overseas or who are offshore currently, they will also be allowed back if they are able to meet the eligibility criteria. Well, which is one of the most confusing element, and it will create a lot of expectations, lot of hopes. But again, it will also cause a lot of heartbreaks and disappointments because government hasn't clarified that. Well, we at Indian Weekender, we have taken a lead and we have tried to clarify that in our story that is already available online. But I would like to throw more light on that. So जो हमारी ये वाला जो सेगमेंट है, जो टेम्पररी माइग्रेंट्स हु आर स्टक ओवरसीज, वी ऑल नो दैट इमिग्रेशन न्यूजीलैंड और द गवर्नमेंट डजंट हैव एक्यूरेट नंबर्स, कितने लोग बाहर फंस गए थे पिछले 2 सालों में. But from what we have heard from government and what has been repeated time and again, that there are probably around tens of thousands of temporary migrant workers who are stuck overseas. And in last 2 odd years, government has only allowed once, by opening a very small narrow window of category and allowing a very small segment of workers, especially that was in the league of around 645 odd temporary migrants who were on a skilled category migrant visa, work visa, or on a work to residence visa. They were allowed back. इसके सिवाय most of the temporary migrant worker visas, which includes a large number of post-study work visa holders, they have still not been allowed to come back. And Indian Weekender has been from time to time raising their voice, raising their stories, raising their plights, and asking the government. And very unfortunately, just in the beginning of this year, on 19th of January to be precise, we have been told directly by the Office of Minister of Immigration, Christopher Foy, that government had got no plans to extend their visas. तो ये गवर्नमेंट ने हमें 19 जनवरी को कहा था कि that government has got no plans to extend their visas. But today what government is saying that government will be allowing those temporary migrant category visas who still meet eligibility criteria. The government hasn't clarified that, but just trying to understand what exactly it means. What exactly it means that for our temporary migrants who are stuck overseas. So from our understanding, it is that A, they should have a valid visa. They should have a valid visa, and B, they should have a valid job offer as well. So those temporary migrants, including post-study work visa holders who are watching this show, for their better understanding, what we have understood from this today's announcement is that if you still have got a valid visa and you still have got a valid job offer, then there is an opportunity for you to be allowed back entry into the country in the stage 3rd. So stage 3rd is it is happening. Stage 3rd is happening on I think, if I'm not wrong, 12th of April this year. So by that time, government plans to allow those temporary migrant work visas. So yeah, it's time for you guys to look at your passport, look at your visa, what has been stamped on your passport, when it is expiring. And we will be probing and reaching out to Minister of Immigration's office, Immigration New Zealand office, and trying to get more clarity on this. And we will be updating on our stories and keep you informed. But for now, that is the most immediate outcome or the analysis that is coming out, that if you still have a valid visa sitting with you and you still have got a valid job offer and you are meeting all the eligibility requirement, then you may be allowed to enter in the 3rd stage, which is in April. Now, along with that, what's also happening is in this 3rd stage is the government has said that government will be allowing 5,000 international students to come back, not come back, to enter into the New Zealand. Again, this is another confusion that government is announcing कि ये 5,000 international students कौन हैं? ये 5,000 इंटरनेशनल स्टूडेंट्स क्या नए स्टूडेंट्स हैं जो गवर्नमेंट जिनका एडमिशन लेगी, या यहाँ के जो एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं वहाँ पे एप्लीकेशन भरेंगे, एडमिशन लेंगे और इंटरनेशनल फीस देंगे, या ये 5,000 स्टूडेंट्स वो स्टूडेंट्स हैं जो अभी तक बाहर फंस गए थे? जैसा कि हम जानते हैं कि बहुत सारे इंटरनेशनल स्टूडेंट्स भी बाहर फंस गए थे 28 March 2020 के बाद, and they have not been able to come back into the country because government has only allowed once in last 2 odd years to return or to allow the return of international students there, and that was only around 250 international students uh, who were doing PhDs. So only they were allowed. Apart from them, we all know, if you don't know, probably universities and educational institutions in New Zealand, they have contacted those international students and they have given them an ability to pursue their educational courses online. तो बहुत सारे लोगों ने 8-8, 9-9 महीने, 10-10 महीने इंटरनेशनल एजुकेशन अपने कोर्सेज किए हैं. आज के अनाउंसमेंट से अभी भी जो कंफ्यूजन है वो उन इंटरनेशनल स्टूडेंट्स के ऊपर है जो कि बाहर फंस गए थे और अपने इंटरनेशनल कोर्सेज को ऑनलाइन वो पढ़ रहे थे, या तो वो कंप्लीट कर चुके हैं या अभी भी पढ़ रहे हैं. सो व्हाट वी डोंट नो विद क्लैरिटी इज दैट व्हाट आर द क्राइटेरिया, व्हाट इज द कट ऑफ मार्क, व्हाट इज द कट ऑफ डेट. क्योंकि from what we recollect from our numerous conversation with Immigration New Zealand in last 2 odd years, that Immigration New Zealand has not given any blank check to international students who were stuck overseas and doing their studies online, that whenever border will reopen, then they would consider to give them their included post-study work visa. As we all know, that part of the whole international education program, how it is sold overseas, is that when an international student come over here for probably around 2-year course, they do get 1-year post-study or maybe 3-year post-study work visa. That's part of the deal. That's how international education market understands. So their understanding is at that time was that as soon as they will be allowed back into the country, once border reopens, then they will be automatically given their 3-year post-study work visas and allowed to enter back into the country. So today's announcement doesn't make any clarity on that. So this is another area where Indian Weekender will be reaching out to Immigration New Zealand. We are waiting a response from their officers, and we will update you as soon as we hear. But for now, the confusion continues. There is no clarity on that. And we also don't know that if government is aiming to bring new 5,000 international students, because that might be also the goal, because as we all know that international students bring a lot of revenue for the educational industry here in New Zealand, who are already struggling big time. So we will be waiting for that information, and as it comes, we will be relaying you as usual. And now coming back to another important element of today's decision is, which is that government is persisting that it will be allowing new set of temporary migrant workers to enter into the country under the accredited employer work visa. So as we all know that since last 2 odd years, government has been working hard to bring and replace all existing temporary work visas with one broad category of work visa under the name of accredited employer work visa. So this has been delayed on many times, but as of now, इसकी जो डेट है वो 4th July 2022 से है. और under this accredited employer work visa, what government has planned to do is to put the more responsibilities on the employers to ensure that they are of basically reputed employers or have employers with proven capabilities, proven financial viabilities. They are not dodgy employers. They are law-abiding. They are complying the New Zealand immigration rules, and they are also compliant to employment rules, and they are not mistreating their migrant workers. So इस तरह के employers के ऊपर ये conditions लगाई गई है कि they will have to apply for different types of accreditation from Immigration New Zealand, which is the cost-intensive affair. We all know that many employers who have till now been relying on temporary migrant workers from overseas, they have to bite this bullet and they have to take the call. Either they have to invest and get their accreditation, or B, they have to just completely give up on the idea of working or employing the temporary migrants from overseas. Which is basically government's goal to transform New Zealand's economy from a low-wage temporary migrant worker based economy to a high wage, high skilled migrant workers economy. But no one exactly knows currently. This issue has been debated many times. It is contested many times, but that is essential part of government's immigration reset. सो आज के अनाउंसमेंट में जो हमको देखने को मिलता है कि गवर्नमेंट ने बॉर्डर रीओपनिंग की बात करी, गवर्नमेंट ने एमआई की रिमूवल की बात करी, बट गवर्नमेंट ने साथ में अपना जो एक पेट एजेंडा है टू ब्रिंग फॉरवर्ड द इमिग्रेशन रीसेट, तो गवर्नमेंट उसकी बात भी कर रहा है. So Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has categorically said that immigration reset is going to happen, and they would be allowing and opening borders in line with that agenda of removing New Zealand employers' dependency on the temporary migrant workers, and only allowing high-skilled, high-wage earning temporary migrant workers. So what it means that government जो third stage में नए accredited employer work visa में जो migrants को बुलाना चाहती है, वो उन लोगों को बुलाना चाहती है who are high wage earning or who have got very high job offers here in New Zealand. So 1.5 times of New Zealand's current median wage, it takes around somewhere around $85,000. $85,000 अगर आपका annual salary का अगर आपके पास job offer है, then only you will be your visa will be approved, and then only you will be allowed to enter in this third stage. So, which is again, it will open a Pandora box, or say it will open a can of worms. We know that things doesn't exactly translate on ground. Businesses, they are struggling. They are saying that it's not just about high wage earning migrant workers. They are probably in the need of mid-skilled and even low-skilled migrant workers, because जो हमारे बहुत सारे jobs हैं डेयरीज में या हॉर्टिकल्चर में या नॉर्मल जो यहाँ पर अर्बन सेंटर्स में हैं, जो कार्लटेक्स में हो गया, आपका पेट्रोल स्टेशंस में हो गया, वो भी जॉब्स हैं जो कि not easily filled. They are not easily filled by so-called high paid earning migrant workers. So again, that is a can of worms, and we will see more debate in coming days. But the thing is, today's announcement, जो गवर्नमेंट ने 3 अपने मुद्दे एक साथ जोड़ा, और उस जोड़ने से जो आउटकम है वो काफी कंफ्यूजन वाला है. बॉर्डर ओपनिंग, MIQ रिमूवल और इमिग्रेशन रीसेटिंग. सो दैट ब्रिंग्स अस टू द लास्ट इंपॉर्टेंट इशू दैट वी रेज्ड, कि आज की जो बॉर्डर ओपनिंग की जो अनाउंसमेंट है वो हमारे बाकी के बचे हुए जो टेम्पररी माइग्रेंट्स हैं उनको कैसे एड्रेस करेगी. सो वी ऑल नो दैट as I have told earlier, that probably there are around 200,000 to around 250,000 temporary migrants on different temporary visas. They are currently living on shore, and they have been locked inside New Zealand, and they didn't have the ability to travel overseas and return back to New Zealand. So they will be the last one in the queue, as government says that they will be opening the border to all foreigners living overseas, and allow them to enter into New Zealand without MIQ or even with MIQ. That will be happening in October. So what it means that for those who are currently on shore, आपके पास ये जो एबिलिटी है रिटर्न बैक करने की न्यूजीलैंड में, वो अक्टूबर से पहले नहीं आएगी. So today's announcement doesn't mean for you anything for the next few months. If you want to enter back, re-enter New Zealand, then you will have to wait all the way till October. So yes, so you should keep that in account. You should keep that in account before you take any further decisions. So I think that's all for today related to this announcement. As we have concluded that the confusion continues, we will keep on, Team Indian Weekender will keep on trying to declutter this as much as we can. We are in touch with different offices in government, and we will be getting those answers, and we will be coming back to you shortly. So this is Sandeep along with my production team at Indian Weekender. Thank you very much.